All right, I've marked response exhibit 6, which is pages 83 to 90, Wisconsin's DOC Executive Directive number 5, employee harassment and discrimination. And I take it you want to offer that, and I'm asking Mr. Cross if he's comfortable telling me if he's willing to admit that or not, or do we need more information?
Perfectly fine.
I'm sorry?
No objection.
All right, respondents exhibit 6 is admitted. Right, and let's look at the document. All right, we're on response exhibit 6, Wisconsin DOC Executive Director 5. And we're now going to the first page of that document, which is page 84. Go ahead.
Ms. Byer, do you recognize this document? What do you recognize it to be?
This is our Executive Directive 5, which is regarding employee harassment and discrimination.
And this is a human resources document?
Yes, the Office of the Secretary truly owns all the executive directives, but yes, we would have been heavily involved in creating this, which is why we are referenced on it.
Okay. Is this a true and accurate copy of Executive Directive 5?
For that time frame, yes.
And what is the time frame?
It was effective November 28th of 2018.
And was this in effect in April of 2020?
Yes.
And what does this directive do?
Basically outline, well, first of all, establishes that the department does not tolerate harassment, discrimination, or any sort of form of hostile work environment, bullying, those things. And then also sets up the process for what should happen if an employee does feel like they are subjected to something like that, or if a supervisor witnesses it. It outlines the responsibilities at various levels, including the employee, the supervisor, the HR office, the appointing authority, Office of Diversity here in central office, and just outlines the overall process.
And this is an anti-discrimination policy, essentially. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And I may have misheard you, but does it outline procedures for internal complaints? If an employee at DOC feels that they've been discriminated against, does it outline an internal process for making complaints about that?
It does. It references the form and then the fact that an intake or a complaint could be filed at the local level. We also have the Office of Diversity and Employee Services, which is a section under my bureau that if the employee does not feel comfortable filing at the local level. And it also references the ERD if an employee does not feel comfortable filing with the agency.
Okay. Judge, if you could pull up respondents exhibit number 7 for me, please.
All right, I've got response exhibit 7, pages 91 to 100, Wisconsin DOC Executive Directive number 1, equity and inclusion. I've marked it. I assume you're offering it or going to offer it, Mr. Mullenbach. So, Mr. Cross, have you looked at this? Are you comfortable
I'm not
admitting it?
objecting to this. I'm not objecting.
All right, then response exhibit 7 is admitted. Thank you. And we'll go to the document. All right. All right, we're on response exhibit 7. We are on page 92. Go ahead.
Just as a preliminary matter, I don't believe this one's scanned very well. There's nothing missing, but I think there are blank pages, so I apologize in advance. But
Okay.
Ms. Byer, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it's a very, very old version of an executive directive. This one being on equal opportunity, employment opportunity, and affirmative action.
And is this a true and accurate copy of the directive as it existed, at least in November of 2004?
Yes.
Judge, if you could now scroll down to page 98 of this document, please.
Let's see. So, because there are apparently blank pages, I'm going to ask the witness to kind of look at this and tell us if she has any questions about whether or not this is missing anything. That's the last writing we have. Do you see that, Ms. Byer?
I do.
All right, so then let's go down. So we had a blank page. Does this look like the next part of that document?
Yes, it does.
All right, we're on page 94. And now 95 is missing, so I want to go to the end of that page and have you look at it carefully and make sure you're comfortable if you look at that. Do you see where we are?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then we're going to the next page, which is 96. So there's a blank 94. Does it look like there's anything missing here?
No, this is the last page.
Okay, all right, good. So you said you want to go to 98, is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay, so now there's a missing page on 97. And now there appears to be a somewhat newer document. Okay, we're on page 98. This is not a new exhibit, correct?
No, it's the same exhibit as, yeah, it's the same exhibit.
Okay, go ahead then.
Ms. Byer, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize it to be?
So this is our new version of the executive directives. It has the new template, and this one is on equity and inclusion. It replaced or renamed the prior version of executive directive number 1.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the directive?
I think so. Can you just, maybe we should just scroll down. Yes, this is a true and accurate copy.
Okay. Judge, if you could return to page 98 for me, please.
All right, we're at 98, go ahead.
And what is the effective date of this version of the directive?
December 14th of 2020.
And who signed this directive?
The Secretary of the Department, Kevin Carr.
He's the current secretary?
He is.
What does this directive do?
Basically, it's very similar to the prior version, the equal opportunity. It reemphasizes that we will use sound hiring practices and give equal opportunity in our hiring practices and all sorts of other personnel actions. It outlines our commitment to having an equity and inclusion plan and making sure that our employees are treated well and our candidates are being treated equally.
Okay. And Ms. Byer, are you familiar with the term resignation in lieu of termination?
Yes.
What is that?
Basically, when we have made a decision to terminate somebody, an employee may decide instead to resign in lieu of that termination.
Can employee resign in lieu of termination prior to a decision to terminate has been made?
No, that would be a resignation during an investigation.
If a DOC employee is terminated from his or her employment, does that employee lose his or her retirement annuity?
No,
Can you
Is it
say that again,
retirement-
please? I want to make sure I understand. Can you say again, please?
Are you asking for the question or the answer, Judge?
Both.
Okay, sure. If a DOC employee is terminated from his or her employment, does that employee lose his or her retirement annuity?
they do not lose their retirement annuity, no.
Is the retirement annuity reduced in any way if the individual is terminated?
No.
Judge, if you could pull up now Respondent's Exhibit number 3 for me, please.
Okay, 1 second. Is this going to continue with that line of questioning? Mr. Mullenbach, are
I'm
you going
sorry?
to continue with that line of questioning?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Do you know what Ms. Novak did in this particular case?
She, I believe, retired or resigned while under investigation.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, exhibit.
1 second.
You're there.
Okay. I
Can you
had
put
a
some
question.
foundation, please?
Are you going to continue to ask questions about what effect the resignation had, or are you going to go to a different topic?
No, I'm going to a different topic at this point.
Okay, well, I want to make sure I get some answers, so.
Do we have foundation on how she knows what Miss Novak did?
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. How do you know that Ms. Novak retired during the course of the investigation as opposed to in lieu of termination?
I have seen the letter acknowledging the decision to resign or retire during investigation.
And that was Ms. Novak's letter?
Both her, I've read the packet. I also, so I saw her statement about resigning or retiring. I also have seen the acknowledgement letter that was given to her and that is kept in her personnel file. I'm
Okay.
responsible for all those HR items.
Okay, so then my question to you, do you know how, if she was actually terminated, how that affects someone's benefits who's a longtime employee like Ms. Novak?
So you're asking me, had she been terminated?
If she had been terminated, yes. Do you know how that affects her benefits?
Benefits or, so her pension, her WRS pension and her annuity are not affected at all. In terms of benefits, there is a sick leave conversion that can happen to pay for health insurance. That is not a pension or annuity. That is something people may be eligible for. And if you are terminated, those sick leave credits are zeroed out. Also, you would lose any seniority or things like that that would be considered a benefit to the person.
I'm sorry, I don't understand with the second part.
You asked about benefits if somebody's terminated. I'd say another thing that is lost if somebody is terminated is any state service seniority. Should that person be hired back in the future, they would start from scratch.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other consequences for termination?
Boy, I can't think off the top of my head of anything in terms of, I mean, so we would still pay out any banked leave time, just like a resignation. That's all the same. I can't think of a difference without the specific question.
Okay, so any time that she had already earned as vacation time, she would be able to still get.
Upon resignation, retirement, termination, if somebody leaves and has accrued leave time, vacation, sabbatical, those things, those can be paid out.
Okay, so she wouldn't lose the sabbatical. The only thing for sure that she would lose is the amount, that sick leave that she had banked, that she was planning to use to pay for health insurance in her retirement.
Correct.
And that would be all of it, not just part of it.
Right, the sick leave balance would be negated basically if there is a termination for misconduct.
Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation. All right, so let's go to HR 3.
Actually, if I could just ask a couple more follow-up questions on that, Judge. Does the DOC match any sick leave time that an individual has if they resign in lieu of termination?
Can you say that again?
If an individual resigns in lieu of termination and they would then keep their sick leave and be able to pay that or use that to pay for insurance, I believe that was the testimony, correct?
That's correct.
Does the DOC match any sort of sick leave credits that the individual has?
The DOC doesn't. There is a program under the Department of Employee Trust Funds that some people may be eligible for. They call it a match, but it's not exactly. But there is a formula that Employee Trust Funds figures out that might supplement whatever the leave balance of sick leave was for those that are eligible.
But DOC does not do that, correct?
The DOC wouldn't provide that. No, we just certify the sick leave hours to ETF.
Did Ms. Novak lose her sick time?
Not that I'm aware of. She should not have if she resigned under investigation.
And if you resign under investigation, do you maintain your seniority under those circumstances?
Yes.
Okay, Judge, I think I'm finally ready to go to Respondents Exhibit 3.
Okay, I actually have one more question. Sorry about that.
Sure.
So can you explain, is there any difference in the benefits that Ms. Novak would get for her retirement if she resigned like she did do during the investigation, or if she had waited until she was told she was going to be terminated and then decided to resign in lieu of termination? Would there be any difference in the benefits if she had waited?
No, the resignation is a resignation. So they're just like any other resignation or retirement. There would not have been a difference depending on timing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now I think we've got it here. Number 3, and we'll have to mark that, I believe.
Yes, I believe so, Judge.